Today we are moving on from segment of a circle, which we did yesterday. If you did not do that yesterday, you need to do that. That is an assignment. The notes and the assignment are in the back in the blue bin as usual. So make sure you do that. Okay? Today we're moving on to talk about the equations of circles. Okay? So you're going to be able to write an equation and identify the center and the radius given an equation, among other things. So let's talk about equations. So everyone's got this in front of them. Let's hit the ground running here. Y'all know what a circle looks like, and it can be graphed like this right here, right? So the equation of a circle. So you can go ahead and write this kind of small in that space right there. Okay, it's x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. So we're not talking about the area of a circle, we're talking about the equation of graphing a circle. So it's not pi r squared, this time it's h minus k squared, x minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. On your, when we do have our test, which is going to be on next Thursday, so I guess I should say that. Test on Thursday. Okay? Okay, set it. You're going to have to be able to do this. It's not that bad. Okay, it might look complicated right now, but we'll make it make sense. Okay? Now, obviously, we have some new letters, H and K. So, H and K is the center. So you can see that in this picture over here, H and K, those coordinates, X, Y coordinates, H and K, are the center of a circle, right? And what do you think R stands for? Radius again, okay? So, let's look at the steps here. To write the equation of a circle, step 1, find the center. Step 2, find the radius. Step 3, we plug it into this formula right here. Same formula at the top. I'm going to move it down. So, what is the center of this circle? So, I always put my pencil at the origin, and then I kind of count. Left and right first is my x. So that's 2, 3. 2, 3. And r is the radius. So if I'm looking from the center to the edge, how many units is that? 2. Okay? If you can look at a graph and get that information, then it's not going to be that bad. Okay? It's very important. Okay? Do you see how this is negative h and negative k up here in this equation? That means that it is opposite. Y'all know that's what a negative sign means, right? Negative h, negative k in the back. People on our phones, waking up. Negative h and negative k means opposite. So when I write this center 2 and 3, I'm going to write the opposite of 2 and 3. What's the opposite of 2? Negative 2. What's the opposite of 3? Negative 3. So here's how we write it. X, opposite of 2, negative 2, squared, plus, parentheses, y, opposite of 3, negative 3, squared, equals, and then r squared, so I'm going to put 2 squared. Now, see how I was running out of room there? Make sure you write kind of small. Okay. So that means for the equation, it might seem kind of redundant to write this right here, but the only thing that's really going to change is my r squared. 2 squared is what? 2 times 2? I got y'all. It's 4. I know that's hard. Just kidding. So again, the last step, what is r squared? You write it down. Okay. Now, was that super, super duper hard? Yes? All right. Well, practice makes perfect. Let's try again. All right. So here's the origin. Now this is where some of y'all mess up. Is everyone looking at this? To get to this center of this circle, I have to go left 3. Left means it's going to be negative. Left is negative. All right, so negative 3. And then my y value goes up 2, so that's positive 2, right? What's my r? What's my radius from the center to the edge here? 3, thank you. So, let's take that info and write our equation. So remember, our first part is parentheses x, opposite of the x value. What's the opposite of negative 3? Positive 3. Do you see how it has to be opposite? And don't forget the squared. Plus y, what's the opposite of 2? Negative 2 squared equals 3 squared. So what do I write? I write the same thing. But 3 squared is what? 3 times 3 is 9. All right, good. Is this a little easier? Yes. Okay, next one. Where is the center of that circle? 0, 0. The origin. So that's okay. 0, 0. What's the radius? 5. All right, so let's write our equation. X minus 0 squared plus y minus 0 squared equals 5 squared. Now guess what? X minus 0 is x, and y minus 0 is y. So we don't have to write the minus 0 anymore, right? So really our equation is x squared plus y squared equals 5 squared is 25. Okay? So far so good? If you have a graph, find the center, find the radius, plug it in, and again, the trickiest part is that h and k are opposite in the equation, okay? Like we said up here. Okay? Question? Which one? Oh. Where? Okay. Here we are. Bottom. Given the center and the radius. Now, this time there's no picture, but there is numbers. Hey. So, we're going to write the equation. This is almost easier because you don't have to count anything. You don't have to get mixed up on a graph, left and right, up and down. Okay, just, we got numbers. So if the center is negative 3, 5, remember, when we write it in the equation, we put it opposite. So x, what? Do I put minus 3 or plus 3? Plus 3, because it's the opposite of this. Squared. And then y, Am I going to put 5 or minus 5? What do y'all think? Minus 5, the opposite of a positive 5, right? Squared equals what? 12 squared. For our final equation, we write x plus 3 squared plus y minus 5 squared equals, what's 12 squared? What's 12 squared? Who said 24? Oh, 144. Very good. Easy? Hard? Eh? What about the next one? We'll go red on this one. So, somebody help me now. What am I going to write? Okay, x minus 4 squared plus y what? Minus 7 squared. Very good. Equals 9 squared. And then we take it down here. What is 9 squared? 81. Not 18. 81. All right, and everyone's writing this down? Good. Last one on this section. Now, remember, when you have zeros, if you want to skip the step where you write x minus 0 and y minus 0, that's cool with me. Okay? It's just going to be x squared plus y squared equals 3 squared, which is 9. Okay? So those centers at 0 are kind of easier, right? Not a lot of thinking there. Flip it over, please. All right, here we go. So now we're going to work backwards. Given the equation, can you give me the center and the radius? Okay. So let me emphasize this again. The center is opposite h and k, right? So I'm looking right here. I have a minus 2 and I have a minus 3. My emphasis is that when you go from the equation to the center, or even if you go from the center to the equation, there's always this opposite transaction, okay? So if this says minus 2, what am I going to write for the x value? Positive 2. If that says minus 3 for the y, I'm going to put positive 3. Yes. Okay. And then r. Now here's the deal. R is not 49. Because if you remember, in your equation, this is r squared. So if r squared equals 49, what's my step to get r by itself? Square root. What's the square root of 49? 7. Easy? Hard? Más o menos? All right, next one. What's the center? Opposite of plus 1? Negative 1. Opposite of plus 4? Negative 4. And then r squared equals 25. So, square root, straight up 5. Okay, so this last one, what do you think? Okay, if it's not adding or subtracting, that's a 0, right? So we got 0, 0. And what's the radius? 3, very good. Square root of 9, S3. All right, no questions on that? Last couple ones here. So it says write the equation of the circle with the center 8, 5 that passes through the point negative 2, 4. Okay, that's going to take a little bit of work, just a little bit. Okay, so the center is HK, right? But it gives us a point which is going to be called XY. So here's what we're going to do. we're going to plug all 4 of those numbers into the equation to figure out what r squared is, so we can figure out what r is. Okay? So this one's kind of complicated, but I'll walk you through it. First, let's write the equation. X minus h squared plus y minus k squared equals r squared. Okay? So x is part of this point, and what's x? -2. So the x and the y are going to be normal. -2 is still -2. But my h, that's opposite. What's the opposite of a positive 8? -8 squared plus, okay, what's my y value over here? Okay, but the x and y's are normal, okay? These are not opposite. So it's going to be a regular 4, but my k is going to be opposite. The opposite of 5 is -5. So, to make your life easier, you should type this entire left side into the calculator in one step. So let me first clear this out. Okay, so what are we doing? -2 minus 8 squared. Parentheses, -2 minus 8 squared plus 4 minus 5 squared. Parentheses, 4 minus 5 squared. If I can do all that in one step, I get 101, okay? So the answer to the first question, what is r squared equal to? R squared is 101, okay? So if I want to figure out the radius, what do I do to that r squared? Square root. So I need to figure out the square root of 101. So, square root 101 is 10.05. Okay. So, if I'm going to write my equation, okay, I'm going to use HK, and I'm going to use this for r squared, okay? So check it out. My equation, x minus 8 squared plus y minus 5 squared equals, and remember, at the very end, you're going to put r squared. So you could put 10.05 squared, but don't we know that r squared over here is already 101, okay? I know that one's tricky, okay, but that's the hardest type, kind of, on these notes, okay? So, we'll do the next one kind of a little faster just to get it done. So, same idea. I'm going to do I'm going to use this as my x and y, and this is my h and k. So, my parentheses, x is -1, the opposite of h is +2. My y is 6, the opposite of k is -3. Okay. This one's just like the last one, so I'm just following the same rules, right? I need to type in my calculator, -1 plus 2 squared plus 6 minus 3 squared, and I get 10. And the square root of 10 is 3.16. And now I can use that to get my equation like we did last time. X plus 2 squared plus y minus 3 squared equals r squared is 10. So again, the one we just did was like the one right before it, following the same rules, okay? One last one for the notes. One last couple of the notes, okay? So, this time we're given 2 points, and we're told to find we have the diameter and we're trying to find the radius. So we're going to have to use our midpoint formula to figure that out. So let's do that. Now, it's been a while. It's been a hot minute. Y'all remember midpoint formula? Kinda, sorta. So let me remind you how to do this, okay? The midpoint of the diameter is the center, okay? So here's how we do midpoint. We're going to add up our x's and divide by 2, and then we're going to add up our y's and then divide by 2, right? 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 So, check it out. -1 plus -7 divided by 2 is my x, and then 2 plus -6 divided by 2 gives me my y. Okay? I'll spare you the calculator work. -1 plus -7, -8 over 2 is -4. 2 plus a -6 is -4 over 2, which is -2. So my center is -4, -2 by using midpoint formula, okay? So we got the center using the midpoint formula. And now we're going to use those points. We're going to use the center and 1 point, and we're going to do what we did up here, off to the side. So let's pick this is my x and my y. This is my h and my k. So I'm going to do -1, opposite of h is +4, squared, plus my y, which is 2, and the opposite of k is +2, squared, to give me r squared. Again, I'm doing what I did here over here, okay? So let's type in -1 plus 4 squared plus 2 plus 2 squared to get 25 So I know this is a long process, but we have our center, we have r squared, and that's all you need to write an equation, right? So our final answer, I'll put it in green here. X, opposite of h, is +4, squared, plus y, opposite of k, squared, equals r squared, which we said was 25. So like final answer, finally, right? So this is probably the worst, not, the fact that it's so long. So again, it's a long equation problem, but I promise not to give you too many of those, if at all. Now, the assignment, which is about to come around, is kind of beefy, but I'm going to probably cut out some of them. But I do want you to try to get through at least the first page today. Once you know the radius and the center, you know that the h and k is opposite. Okay, and you know to square the radius. If you're working backwards, you square root, right? So take this assignment that I'm passing around and try to get some of it done. I'd love for you to finish today. On the notes, the last one we didn't do, we'll leave it undone, okay? If you want the answers, I'll put it up right here, right now, in a minute. Real quick, let's take a look at the assignment, because you're going to have to graph, and I know you don't have a compass, so we're going to do our best when we do this. So let's do number 1 together. That way you have an idea of how we can do this. There we go. So, looking at number 1, if you're doing number 1, hopefully we know the center, if there's nothing there, is 0, 0. And the radius, the square root of 4 is 2. So here's what I want you to do. Put a point at 0, 0. Right? Everyone's doing this on number 1? And then I want you to go 2 to the right, 2 up, 2 left, 2 down. Put a point there, 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 and there. And then, as gracefully as you can, as best as you can, draw a circle. Not a diamond, but a circle through those 4 points, okay? So round it out. Doesn't have to be perfect. Our compasses are kind of janky, so I don't want to have to deal with that right now. If you can make 4 points, do your best circle through it. Just don't make it pointy, because that's a diamond or a rhombus. Don't do that, okay? So, use that to do the rest of this.